most people who immigrate here legally are law-abiding citizens that want to contribute to the American society and the American economy. But then you have
Yeah,
folks
do all the
like,
jobs Americans don't want to do. I mean,
well, I'm
let's
talking about the ones
twist it.
who legally immigrate, but even the ones who illegally immigrate, they usually, in previous ways of immigration past, most folks are on their best behavior. These folks aren't.
Right.
And
Right.
it seems like, okay, we should just throw out your asylum claim, and instead of taking up resources from the court, we should just send you back, and like that's it.
The end. As far as violent crimes, it's the one thing. I mean, I guess I would say rape is probably that one thing, but a violent crime while you are in a foreign country as a guest, I think you should be automatically deported no matter who you are, no matter what country you're in. If I go to the Fiji Islands and show my ass like that, they should deport me. I mean, but I don't know why that would be beyond the pale. I mean, don't bring your bullshit to our country. We got enough of our own bullshit here. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Disappointing. It's disappointing because personally, if I were the police, I'd call all of those kids' parents in if I could, if they are truly migrants and I can't reach them. I really have to wonder what is going on with our society that the crimes that are most violent seem to be occurring from younger and younger people, and that's disappointing.
Well, these folks were all in their 20s. Only two of them were 19, two were 21 and 24, and another one was 22. So you can talk to their parents, but their parents, who knows what they're going to say. And to your point about bail,
How
most
did
people
they
that supported bail reform said, hey, like, we want cashless bail for non-violent crimes.
non-violent, right? That was my understanding that it was about non-violent crimes, not violent crimes, let alone crimes of this nature. I don't know anybody supporting no bail for this kind of bullshit. You kidding me? I mean, if they can openly attack police officers, then what about the rest of the public? Then nobody's safe.
Right. So cashless bail at this point, you gotta ask, who was the judge and who was the prosecutor who decided we're not going to try to get any bail at this point? Because I want to know, was it a requirement from New York, from the state of New York or the city of New York City that said, hey, we just got rid of cashless bail altogether, regardless of what crime you commit? Or did a prosecutor say, hey, they're migrants, they don't have bail money anyway, and they can't
Right.
get credit for bail money, so to get a bail bond, so therefore there's no point, they would just sit in jail, so we're not going to request it. I want to know, which one was it? Was it a soft prosecutor and a soft judge, or was it literally required by the state? Like, it was not an option, you had to let them out without making them pay anything. I'm not saying they should be stuck in jail, but you should have to pay something if you did something this egregious.
Yeah. I mean, that's insane that they got out. Again, it's the violent part. I mean, they kicked these police officers in the head. They didn't just like fight them and punch them in the stomach, which I mean is still not okay. But you start kicking people in the head when they're on the ground, that you're trying to kill them. So I don't
Yes.
understand how they could. But see, it's that kind of bullshit that makes the Democrats look nuts. You can't support
Yes.
that logically. You just cannot support it. And this has nothing to do with politics. This has to do with just common sense. I mean, we are a species of people that responds to punishment. That's why it works. That's why most people don't commit crimes. It's not because we're such good people. It's because most of us fear punishment. So if you can just whip cops' asses on TV, get arrested, and be home by dinner, why wouldn't they rob me or anybody else on the street? I mean, what would stop them if they're going to be released even faster? That's ridiculous. I don't support this at all. This is bullshit.
Also,
This is
what
going to make
guarantee
Democrats lose.
what guarantees do you have that they're going to show up to court? They could just disappear.
Right.
They're here already illegally. They want asylum. If they say, okay, well, my asylum claim is probably going to get denied because of this, so I'm just going to go underground at this point and just become a ghost. I can pay
Right.
somebody, I can get an under the table job and pay someone to get me some fake papers.
Pathetic. Pathetic. It really is. I'm in no way, shape, or form supporting this kind of nonsense. This is just, it's not logical and it's not common sense.
Yeah, let's talk about the aftermath. So Hochul says deport them.
Here's some information
She's a
from
Democrat. She definitely has to say that. As you mentioned, she barely won, and of course, Republicans are going to seize upon this. This is the type of thing that
Yeah,
falls right into Trump's lap and falls right into the lap of
absolutely.
anybody
And
running.
effectively and
Mhm.
effective. This, I mean, man, you can't even get me to disagree. You can't get anybody with any common sense, politics aside, to think that what we witnessed is okay. That was attempted murder as far as I'm concerned, and it should be treated as such.
Right. And all they have to do is just clip this video
Right.
and play
Be
it
like,
on a
look at these
loop.
idiots. You want to vote for that?
Exactly. And remember, the New York City mayor, he's an ex-cop, he's a Democrat, but
He
he
is.
ran on public safety. So I'm surprised he hasn't issued any kind of a statement.
I think he's been focused on vetoing the city council's bill, which they did veto. New York City Council vetoed this bill where police officers would have to put in their notes and their reports everybody that they speak to or interact with when they're handling a situation. And
Interesting.
they also vetoed a solitary confinement ban. So
Interesting. Okay.
Adams was against both, and the council voted 42-9 to override Mayor Eric Adams' vetoes on solitary confinement and the bill to document police stops. So I'm for the solitary confinement ban. I think the bill to document police stops is short-sighted. I don't think it's the best way to utilize resources. So you're telling me every time a police officer interacts with the public on a situation, they have to take out their notepad and get every single person's name, phone number, and email address that they interact with? That's not logical.
Most of those folks aren't going to give you their name.
It's just how you're going to keep up with that. Like, look how much is involved in paperwork as it is. So according to ABC News, the How Many Stops bill on police data would require the NYPD to publicly report on police civilian investigative stops and consent searches, as well as to expand NYPD reporting on vehicle stops to include the justification and the type of offense observed, as well as other data connected to vehicle stops.
Okay, so it's not every person they talk to, it's every time they pull somebody over.
Yes. But any interaction that they are a part of, they're supposed to note down all the people that they talk to.
Well, that's not what you just read said. What you just read was talking about stops.
Okay, but to publicly report on police civilian investigative stops and consent searches.
Yeah, if you search somebody, I think you should have to write some notes on searching someone.
Okay.
But if you don't, if you just simply,
let me see.
Now, if you're just simply interacting with the public, if you're saying, hey, please move it along or whatever, it's ridiculous to ask someone to write notes about that. But if you search someone, then yes, I think maybe, one sentence about searching someone and why isn't too much to ask. I definitely don't think that would actually stop people from wanting to search, because you can literally write that. Chat GPT can write that for you.
Yeah, I mean, you can still write anything. I mean, what's the justification for it? Your partner is most likely going to co-sign. I mean, I don't know. To me, it just doesn't seem like the most effective policy we could push forward with. I get the solitary confinement. I mean, we have plenty of data to show that solitary confinement makes people go crazy. And if we know the majority of people are going to be released to the public, that's just ridiculous. Although New York uses the term restrictive housing, not solitary confinement.
Restrictive housing. That's funny. Mm-hmm. So let's talk about housing really quick, because people are wondering why this is going on in New York. Why are the governors of Florida and Texas sending people specifically to New York? Why aren't they sending them to San Francisco? For a while, I was predicting they would eventually start sending them to San Francisco as we got closer to the November election. But it is important to note, New York City has a right to housing law. And that is why they are sending migrants to New York City. Under the right to housing law, depending on how you interpret it, you could say any person in New York has a right to housing, and so therefore the city of New York must provide shelter for them. And so what's going on is Mayor Adams wants the interpretation to be citizens of New York City, but activists are saying, no, you must interpret this as everyone, and we're going to sue you if you don't. And so until the New York City Council passes a bill that makes this clarification clear, until they pass a bill that says, actually, no, this is just for citizens of New York, this doesn't apply to migrants that get bused here or flown here, whatever, you're going to be stuck with this problem. And it's unfortunate, because you have undocumented people who aren't in this current wave of migrants that may have come here 20 years ago who maybe should get that right to housing. Maybe the right to housing should apply to them. But if you just got here, I don't know. I don't know. But that's why this is happening in New York. That's why it's such a problem. Their hands are tied. They have to provide shelter for these folks
Yeah, but
until
again,
there's
an
until they pass a bill.
impracticality to this.
Yeah,
You can't just be just shipping 1,000 people here in a day, no notice, no resources. Like, just be practical about it. Hey, we can't house these people. We're gonna send them to you, but we're gonna send you some of our. I mean, most of the states that are sending us these people are states that rely upon money coming from our cities anyway. So I don't understand why one hand can't seem to wash the other.
because it's a political play. Like they're
It's
obviously doing
shameful.
this to embarrass. Yeah, they're obviously doing this to embarrass the Democrats, embarrass New York, embarrass New York City, and help Trump win in 2024 in November, along with the rest of the Republican Party. And it's working because the Democrats have failed to pass a law in New York City that makes this more practical.
If the Democrats lose, it's their own fault.
Yeah, that's exactly what's going on right now, and you can see the fallout. Of course, the police officers union is going to capitalize on this as well. That's their prerogative. I wouldn't blame them, and the Republican Party in general is going to capitalize on it. But I believe this comes down to just mismanagement of a democratic city, a deep blue, usually a deep blue city, sometimes a deep blue city, or a city that is thought of as deep blue. Same thing with San Francisco, same thing with Oakland, same thing with Portland, same thing with Seattle, same thing with Los Angeles.
Well, then good luck, Democratic cities. You're going to help usher in the Handmaid's Tale. Period.